Today is Thursday, April 9th, and I am currently doing a very easy, mostly run hike with my dog in my backyard forest. So I camped at my property where we're building a new house. I camped at my property last night, and we had some rain and some sleet, just a little bit of sleet overnight. And I am enjoying being out in the forest. Here, let me show some of these cute little snowballs there. So sort of sleet, sort of, if I were in Montana, I'd be calling it grapple. So, and I'm getting my dog out for some exercise because tomorrow I am planning to do the virtual Whiskey Basin 91K. And so she can't come with me on that. So I want her to get a little bit of runaround time today. Oh, here's another good shot here by the base of the tree. But I wanted to show off some of my favorite trails today during my pre-race segment. So I really like tunnel vision, especially during this social distancing time, because this trail doesn't see a lot of use in the early morning. Usually, a lot of these trails are frequented by mountain bikers, but most of them get out later in the day. That's not to say it's true for all of them, but when I come out in the morning, I usually have the trails to myself for quite a while. Today I'm getting out a little bit later because I intentionally slept in a bit today so I would have extra rest before my virtual race. 91K will be the longest I've ever done in training, and even though this is a virtual race, it's sort of like a training run. There won't be any aid stations other than what my wonderful husband is going to do for me. So normally the Whiskey Basin course has, I think, 8 aid stations is about right. And my plan is to only have 2 or 3, probably 2. I'd actually like to get 1 more in, but by the point where I think I'll really need it towards the end sections of the course are not very accessible. And I don't want to have my husband have to hike something in, so I'm just gonna do the last roughly 20 miles without an aid station. And of course, since I'll be carrying more water and more food for each segment, I will go slower. I'm not planning to try to do a race pace, but I will, I'll just do what I can do. I don't want to go hard, especially right now, since we have the COVID-19 / coronavirus crisis going on. So I want to keep my efforts where they don't overtax me. I don't want to make myself be more immune compromised. But I tend to do a lot of high mileage in training anyway. So I think if I take it easy tomorrow, I can have a beautiful day out on the trails. You can see how gorgeous the forest is here. Just give a little 360 view. And I'll just enjoy my outing tomorrow. I'll probably go a bit faster than I would for training pace, or I should say a bit harder. With a heavier pack, it may not be faster, but probably go a little bit harder than a regular training pace. And but mostly just enjoy it. I've gotten permission from the race director to do my virtual run about a week early versus the dates for the weekend that it would have been held on. And part of that reason is because I am running the course, I am trying to make sure that I do it on a day when there wouldn't be other local people trying to do the same thing, you know, just taking advantage of it. And so I asked for permission to do it a little early, and they told me that was fine. And I'm going to do it on Friday instead of on a Saturday or Sunday for similar reasons, because there'll be fewer people out on a weekday than on the weekend. I probably would have done it today, except because we were having that precipitation last night, I wanted to make sure that I gave the trails a chance to dry out a little bit. Fortunately, we didn't get much, and the trails around here dry pretty quickly. So I think it'll be fine. My home trails, which I'm running on right now, this isn't the circle trail. I'm in an area that has a lot of decomposed granite. And this trail in particular does really well, even right after a rain. So that's not true of all the trails in this area, but I run them a lot in training. So I tend to know which ones will be in better shape, and you know, I won't be damaging them after we have some precipitation. So, but like I said, today is mostly about getting my pup out for some fun forest time, right, Kiri? Yes, good girl. She loves running in the forest, and she really likes it when we've had rain, because a lot more of our, oops, somebody left some trash. A lot more of our drainages have water in them. I picked up this trash with a gloved hand. I'll have to now remember that it is not clean, again, for distancing, but I hate to leave trash down in the forest. I think it's some kind of note. I'll look at it later. But anyway, so I'm having fun, and lost my train of thought there. It's kind of like when you go on a run with friends and you get distracted by something. I will be going up and hitting a portion of the Prescott Circle trail today, because I'm doing this little, it's I think just over 4 miles outing with my pup, and the middle half mile or so will be on the Javelina trail, which is part of the Prescott Circle trail. So I will show a bit of that when I get up there later. I'm just coming up to the crossing of Spence Creek, which is the major drainage right in this basin area. There's also another creek, Willow Creek, which is larger, but right in the center of this area is Spence, and I thought this would make for some nice video to show that. Just really pretty. One of the reasons that I like tunnel vision is because it does parallel the creek for a short distance here before crossing it, and then it parallels it a little bit on the other side. I'm out a little later today, getting some extra sleep for tomorrow, and normally I get out very early, which is nice for avoiding other people during the social distancing. So I was wondering if by getting out later today, if I would run into more people, but the mountain bikes really do tend to go out later, so I might see a few people, especially when I get up to the Circle Trail. So the Circle Trail is likely to have more people out. This particular section of it is a popular area for people to walk their dogs. And this is the reason that tunnel vision is called tunnel vision, because it goes through a tunnel right here. And then the flat line above that is the Javelina Trail 332, which is part of the Circle Trail. So I thought I would show the tunnel here. It's funny, almost everybody I've seen go through this ends up ducking a bit. even though for somebody of my height, it's plenty tall enough. I do, even when I'm running though, I don't usually run through here. I usually walk and duck. But turn this around and you can see I'm standing up straight and not touching, but it just feels funny to have something that close to your head. Coming up to the rail trail intersection. This is part of the Circle Trail, and down that way is the Iron Springs Road trailhead. I think that's actually going to be where I have Rick meet me for my first resupply. I haven't completely decided yet. I'm going to work on that today. A couple of sections closed on the Prescott Circle Trail right now. There's one at Embry-Riddle, which occurs very early in the course because the Embry-Riddle campus is closed. But I did a road detour around that in training a little over a week ago, about a week and a half ago, and that worked great. And then the section right where the Circle Trail crosses Thumb Butte Road, the section beyond there through to Copper Basin Road has been closed because they're doing some logging / thinning operations, for fire safety. And I tried to get a hold of the Forest Service to see if it's still closed with the current situation. But although I left messages for the two people that I was told to leave messages for, they never called me back. So I'm just going to assume it's closed. And again, take a road detour around that I did in training on that same run a week and a half ago. That will end up having me do more ascent because the road route around goes up to the Sierra Prieta Crust overlook, which is higher than I would have normally gone on that segment. And then I will drop that down to pick up the trail right off of Copper Basin near Aspen Creek. It's a little after 4 a.m. on Friday, April 10th, and I'm about to drive down to where I'm going to start my Whiskey Basin 91K virtual run. I am bundled up. It is colder than I was expecting. It will be freezing down there, but I have to dress for temperatures later in the day, so it's going to be a chilly start. I'm getting started really early because I'm worried I'll be a little bit slower today, and I prefer to run earlier rather than later into the evening. So I'm hoping to be started by 4:30. I'm going to start at the Peavine parking lot instead of starting at the normal starting place because I don't know if I can even bring a car in there this time of night when there isn't an event going on. So normally the race starts at 5 a.m. and I'm hoping to get started about a half an hour early. I probably won't do a whole lot of videoing early on because it's going to be really cold, but once the sun comes up, I will get some more video. I am about 5 miles into my run, and I am coming up on the Embry-Riddle campus area, and I already knew that this area was closed, but the detour around it is, there's the sign. The detour around it is shorter, and so I wanted to run up to the sign and then back out. I'm coming back past Willow Lake after having turned around by Embry-Riddle at Embry-Riddle campus. And the dawn light is really pretty on the lake. So I did want to get a little video of that. It's still very cold, probably right around freezing down here. But I'm warm enough to video right now because I've been running. But isn't this just a beautiful sight? I bypassed Embry-Riddle campus and picked up the Circle Trail again in Pioneer Park area. I'm now on the single track on the other side of Pioneer Parkway, and it is just after sunrise. So making good progress, and although it's a chilly morning, it's very pretty. And this is one of the sections I like to hit in the morning. As you come out of the shade here into this more open meadow at the top of the hill, you can see the mountains beyond, some of which still have a little bit of snow on the north side, and the grass is all lit up in the morning sunshine, which I just find really pretty, you know, especially when you've been running before dawn for a while and then the sun comes up, but some of the trail that I've just come off of is more in the shadow of the hill. So this is a kind of an inspiring area here. Come up, look out over the lake in the distance there where I was earlier, and then looking around at the hills. I'm going to run through this area here and looking at Granite Mountain. I won't go on Granite Mountain today, but I'll go into that basin area. And just a beautiful morning. Absolutely love it. I am just under 12 miles into the run, and I am on one of the very few road sections of the Prescott Circle Trail. So this isn't a detour, this is actually the route that the Circle Trail takes. I just did a little bit of running down Williamson Valley Road, and now I'm headed up into what is actually a really pretty little neighborhood. So for completeness, I thought I should get a little bit of a view of this. And the birds are out singing. It's really nice. Blue skies. I think it's supposed to cloud up later, at least that was the forecast, but right now it's pretty. And even though it's sunny, it's still fairly cool temperatures. So I am doing well. I am through the neighborhood section, the road section, and I am now back on single track and gradually working my way up to the saddle where I will go into Granite Basin. So right now I'm climbing up above where that neighborhood was. Got a bit of a view of Thumb Butte. I can swing around and get that after the next few trees. There we go. Thumb Butte in the background. And a little bit of rocky climb, so I figured it was a good chance to pull out the camera and take a little video. Don't mind the rocky climb. Gives me a break from running, and also more of a chance to just look around and enjoy the views. Enjoy the pretty morning. I am now completely down to my summer weight gear. I don't have my airband or my buff or my jacket on. So kind of nice. Still nice and cool, especially when I go into the shaded sides of the hills. But I like that. Better a little too cool than a little too hot. And I'm going to keep working on the climb. I am in the saddle, crossing into Granite Basin, and just came over the top of the saddle there. And I'm probably going to just try to walk across the bike grate here so that I don't have to touch anything. That way my hands stay socially distanced as well. Just a beautiful view of Granite Mountain here. And on to the next segment. I just took this little social trail spur down. The gate that is on the Circle Trail is up there, but by dropping down here, I didn't have to operate that gate. Sadly, there is not a good way through this next gate, but I brought hand sanitizer. So what I'm going to do is, before I touch the gate, I'm going to pull it out of my pack. See, it's this cute little tube, and I'm going to open the lid. And then, of course, all this is very hard to do while I have the camera in my hands. I am going to operate the gate with my left hand. Close the gate. And now I can, I know this is going to look very odd on camera, I can put some hand sanitizer directly into my hand without having touched anything else. Not the outside of the sanitizer container and not the lid. So, requires a little pre-planning, but it means that the only thing that touched anything has now been sanitized. Just trying to do my part to avoid the spread. And given what time of day I started at, it is probably not going to surprise anyone to know that I have not encountered anyone anywhere on the trail yet, or on any of the road bypasses that I've done. Very pretty flowers. Those little purple flowers have been springing up everywhere. So that little crust area sort of lets me cross out of the Granite Basin area, and now I'm coming back around on the side of the mountain. I'll actually be on this trail for about 2 miles until I get to the crossing at Thumb Butte Road. And I did decide that I was going to have my husband meet me further than that. So he's not meeting me at, oh, I'm saying the wrong road. Iron Springs Road. Sorry, a couple miles till I get to Iron Springs. So he's not meeting me at Iron Springs Road. He's going to meet me at White Rock Parking. Now, amusingly, White Rock is not actually on the Circle Trail. But because I have not been able to figure out if the area by Thumb Butte and over towards Copper Basin Road, the Aspen Creek Trailhead, I left some voice messages for some Forest Service guys that were supposed to be able to answer that. But I think everybody's working limited hours right now and working from home. So my guess is they haven't seen it yet, which is fine. I'm gonna operate under the assumption that it's still closed, and I'm gonna do the same bypass that I've done in training, which is just on a couple of Forest Service roads, and they see very little traffic, so I don't think that's gonna be a big deal. That bypass will actually end up taking me to a higher elevation point than the Circle Trail usually reaches, as well as being a little bit longer. But my first bypass around Embry-Riddle, which was also a road bypass, but that's a paved road bypass, that one was shorter. So I think by the time I wind up, back where I started at the Peavine parking lot, I think I'm going to be about 1 mile short, give or take. And my plan is just to do that extra mile on the Peavine at the end to bring my total up to 57. So when we look out at the view here, I'm going to put the camera away. I am working on the climb up to Iron Springs Road, and this is a reasonably steep climb in spots, compared to some other sections of the Circle Trail. But I always enjoy it because you're in the forest, and even on a hot day, this area has some shade. And I also know that I'm looking forward to getting to do some uncomplicated downhill running, because after I cross Iron Springs Road, the Javelina Trail turns into a rail trail. It's a steady grade, a slight steady downhill grade, and it's a good place to do some nice easy running without complicated footing. So that's a fun thing to look forward to. Normally there would also be an aid station there, but as I mentioned, I'm going to have my aid station, my first one, at White Rock. I'm on that rail trail section of Javelina, and I wanted to get just a little bit of video of it. I'm not going to do a lot of video here because I'd rather be running this section, but it is gorgeous. So I just wanted to share a little bit of what it looks like in the forest section. And looking back, it continues to be a really beautiful sunny day. It's 8:47 a.m. so it may still cloud up a bit later, but for now it's gorgeous. I've run through Spence Basin, and now I am going along alongside Willow Creek, which is very pretty. So I wanted to get a little video of that. And making good progress. Because I got started a little bit earlier than I had planned, I actually just had to text my husband and tell him that I was running a little bit early. So, and the trails have been in great shape. I mentioned yesterday that we'd gotten a little precipitation, and I wanted to make sure the trails had a chance to dry out. But even the sections that get clay sometimes, or are clay, they get muddy sometimes. They were really good. So I've had good footing today. I have climbed out of the Willow Creek drainage area and coming up into the network of trails around Thumb Butte. This is actually where I'm going to do my second detour off of the Circle Trail, and I'm going to detour a little bit earlier than I have to, just because it keeps me from having to run as much of the actual Thumb Butte Road. So just like a little less than 2/10 of a mile down that way is where the Circle Trail crosses Thumb Butte Road. But then when the trail hits the closed section, I'd have to get onto the road and run a bit more of that. Or actually, there is another trail that might be open, I'm not sure. But in any case, I did this in training last time. I've turned onto Trail 318, and I'm going to take this up to White Rock Parking, which is where I get my first aid station. I'm coming into White Rock Parking, and my guy is here waiting for me. I already saw him wave. Making pretty good time here today, especially given that I'm carrying extra water and extra food. Hi! Thank you for coming. It's resupply time. There's the great guy. I am just a little bit beyond that first aid station at White Rock. I am now on my road detour on Thumb Butte Road, which, you know, as road detours go, little burbling creek, nice sunshine, big trees. It is not so bad. I am now going to take this up to the high point of my modified course, the Sierra Prieta Crest Overlook. I am in the final stretch towards my high point, which is just around that corner up there. And I've just switched over to the Skull Valley, sort of the Skull Valley side of the Sierra Prieta Crest Ridge. And the high point is just a little bit beyond those trees you can see. Still climbing up the road. Wonderful views now off to my right. There we go. Nice big expansive views down into that area. You can see Skull Valley is the green area down there. And I forget the name of this town, starts with a W. And I really do know the name of that town. I'm just probably oxygen deprived right now. So this is not on the Circle Trail. Like I said before, this is my detour. And the thinning units lie all to the left of the road that I've been coming up, and then I'll wrap around and I'll connect to Copper Basin Road and head down that, just making a big U around the section of forest that was being thinned. Like I said, I'm not positive it's still closed, but I did not see anything on the Forest Service page that said it had been reopened yet. So I'm being a good citizen and doing more ascent than I would otherwise have to do. I actually have done quite a bit of training on this road this spring, partly because of the logging / thinning closure, and partly because at one point we had a bunch of snow that was taking a while to melt off, and so I could come run this road without damaging any of the trails when they were wet. So I did that. Actually ran down up this and then down through the valley here towards Skull Valley, did a 50K training run as an out and back. It was amusing. But almost up to my high point. Then I will drop down. I will pick up Aspen Trail on the opposite side of where the forest closure is, and then I will climb up to what would have been the high point for the Whiskey Basin course and what is the high point for the Circle Trail, where it goes up over Wolverton Mountain. Starting to get a few clouds, but it's still a pretty nice looking day. Really enjoying it. So you get to see something you wouldn't normally see for the Circle Trail. And this is the high point. Just a few feet above the lookout area there. I think this tree is really cool, especially perched on the edge of the mountain. But wonderful views. Pause here for a second. That's where I came from. You can just barely see Granite Mountain peeking up. And just wonderful views out over the valley on that side. Now I'm gonna go get rolling towards Copper Basin Road. I'm at the Aspen Creek trailhead, and it looks like they are still doing some logging operations, but I am gonna go this way. I think a little section of this is still, you can kind of see it's still within the thinning logging operations, but I did run through here the other day, and there's not anything across this trail saying that it's closed. So, and it's just basically the first little switchback that lay within the area. And besides which, look how beautiful. Aspen Creek cascading down. And a gorgeous day. And now I get to climb again. But that's okay. I really like this trail. I think it's so pretty. Who am I kidding? I think most of the forest trails are pretty. I put the camera away, and then I decided I had to pull it out again. So I'm just really enjoying the sunlight on the creek here. This is my creek crossing up here. And it looks looks like I'll be able to do this with dry feet. I think actually last time I went upstream a little bit. It just depends on how far this log is going to sink when I step on it. Oh, actually that seems pretty decent. Oh, all right. Got it done with the camera in my hand. Didn't even flail madly. It's the little accomplishments that you have to celebrate. Oh, and I am halfway through my run. I'm at 28.5 miles. So, halfway through my 57/91K outing. And still having fun. Really love the creeks here. And I'm gonna step over this. I wanted to get a picture or a video of this little kind of a grotto area with this little bitty waterfall. I don't know if it shows. So I can get the camera to lighten it up a little bit. But really cool little waterfall. A little cool. Just a little stream. That one is especially interesting looking when it gets covered with ice in the winter. It's a fun look. I am now on the single track downhill section on the shoulder of Wolverton Mountain. And I don't know if it'll show up on the video, but there's still snow visible on the north side of some of the Bradshaw Mountains, which is fun. No snow around here, but at higher elevations there's still some lingering. And nice views from the single track here. Interestingly, let me see if I could spot it again. There we go. Look straight over the top of Quartz Mountain and you can see upper and lower Goldwater lakes. And this is actually the first time I've ever noticed that. Now, they have done a bunch of thinning of the forest in this section. This was actually the area they were thinning before they worked into the Aspen Creek Thumb Butte area. And so it might have been visible before and I just didn't notice it, but I think it's really interesting. That's actually roughly where my next aid station is. So my husband is going to meet me at where the Circle Trail crosses Senator Highway, which is also where you would turn in to go to Goldwater Lake. It's also one of the actual aid stations on the course for the Whiskey Basin 91K. Even though this is still downhill and I should be running, I wanted to get some video of the Dells area there with the lake and the San Francisco peaks behind. It may not show up in the video because I don't know of a way to zoom the video in while I'm taking it on the GoPro. Probably is a way, but I don't know what it is. Just crossed the road. I think that road goes up to Quartz Mountain, and so that's one of the signs that I'm getting on down, wrapping up my section on Wolverton Mountain. This will wrap around the nose of this hill and then drop down to the creek drainage that's kind of in front of me now, and then I'll climb a hill on the far side and get to the White Spar campground, where sometimes my husband meets me when I'm coming from the other direction. But today I'm just going to continue on through there and go on up to Goldwater Lakes and Senator Highway. And I am happy that it has clouded up a bit. That's keeping the temperature nice and moderate, which is very enjoyable. Good day on the trail. I just crossed Banning Creek This is the outflow from the Goldwater Lakes. And I love this little pond here. When my dog is running with me, she will get in the water there when it's hot and cool off. And of course, I have another climb. So now I'm going to climb up to Goldwater Lakes, and I'll go past those to Senator Highway and have my second aid stop. I was starting to wonder if it might actually get cloudy enough to rain. So I asked my husband to check the weather report, and it's not supposed to. But I just figured it was good to double check, because sometimes the situation changes when I'm out on the trail all day. I am just passing by the lakes. I think that one is Upper Goldwater. Not positive. Actually, that might be Lower Goldwater. Yeah, that's probably Lower Goldwater. And I just had a text from Rick that he is at Senator Highway. Now I'm passing by Upper Goldwater Lake. I just was confused before, partly because I was distracted. All right, I have finished with my second aid station.
Go Terry.
Go Terry.
All right.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. My wonderful one-man aid station.
Have a good rest of your day.
All right, thank you. I will see you over at Peavine.
All righty.
All right, I am headed out. And oh my goodness, what a shock. It's another climb. All right, I am climbing up away from Senator Highway. And I have a love-hate relationship with this section of trail. This is the ranch trail. And some sections are really nice, and some are super rocky. But this is not a trail I run in training, so about the only time I ever run this trail is when I've already done 35 to 40 miles. So I only do this if I'm doing kind of a big section on the Circle Trail. But the reason I love it is the views are wonderful. So coming up here, you can look down over Upper and Lower Goldwater Lakes right there. And then you have this beautiful view out over the basin, again with that one mountain that still has a bit of snow on it. And later on this trail, you get fantastic views out over Prescott. Just great. And then you also see where you're headed, because you can see back down to Watson Lake where you started at the beginning of the day. Just wanted to get another view since I came around the nose of that hill. You're starting to see there's Granite Mountain up ahead, and a good section of Prescott there. And then I'll pull it out again later on to when I can see the lakes. And got some views. This is kind of the drainage. It works its way up after it's no longer out on the side overlooking the valley. And then you go along this ridge, and then just in a little bit, it actually makes a switchback and drops down in the trees over there. And this is the section right before the switchback, running in the pine trees, and there's oak trees as well. Just a few minutes back, I was in a carpet of oak leaves from last fall. And here's our switchback. Nice little views there. But we're going to turn back in to this forested section and go down some more. Well, sometimes technology is a pain in the neck. So I went to take the video that would show the lakes from, there's an area back up behind me now that has a bench, and it's kind of a high point along this trail. So it has the best view of the lakes over there. And of course, that's when my GoPro battery died. And then I had a bunch of difficulty replacing it because I was trying to do it while I was walking and I popped the door off. So, any rate, the lakes are over there, Watson Lake and then Willow Lake. And that's where I'm headed for my finish. But I've just had an incredibly slow split and should be running this downhill. But since I finally got the battery changed, I actually wanted to get a little bit of video of the beautiful views here. I've been waiting to pull out the camera just to get the views from this section of the trail. I am about to drop down through kind of this section up ahead of me here, and then I'll end up going under a culvert. Actually, I just pointed at the wrong thing. I'll end up going under a culvert by the car dealership over there and picking up Sundog Trail. And that's what I'm going to do. I have less than 10 miles to go now. I'm at just over 49 miles. I have descended off of Badger Mountain, otherwise known as P Mountain because it has the big white letter P on it. And now I get to go through the wet culvert, the wet slimy culvert, which is always fun. Sometimes it's hard to figure out where the shallow parts are. I think it's not terribly shallow today. But it's an experience, and there's water that drips from some of the seams, which can be chilly if the drip happens to time right when your neck or back are going under it. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I emerge. This is Sundog Trail, and if this were the actual race, there would just be a short climb up to an aid station. The last aid station on the course would be right up here on kind of a service road that comes in from behind the car dealership. I'm on Sundog. I've climbed up from the culvert below, and a little while earlier I was on the mountain over there. And after I get done with Sundog, I'll really only have a short stretch of rail trail to do to get me back to the Peavine parking lot. So I will finish before dark. Don't know that I'm going to finish before sunset, but that's because my legs are tired, which is really not shocking. But there's some nice views from this section of Sundog, and I just had a gel, so I was figuring I'd do a little videoing while I was digesting. And there you can see right through the center a little bit of Watson Lake. It's hard to see all of it now because I'm lower. I have dropped down, but I am gonna roll through the hills here, you might be able to see the path headed down that way. And then I have to climb over one more small hill. And then I will drop down to that rail trail. So just in the final stages of wrapping it up here. And hoping that you don't get rained on. I have a wind shell that actually at this point I think it would shed the rain until I was done. So I'm gonna get to it. So I'm looking backwards here. This is actually the trail we used to come down. Now they've added a whole nother switchback, which adds some distance, and it's not even like you lose that much elevation, so it's what I call a pointless switchback. I don't know, if I'm being generous, maybe they were having some problems with erosion, but you know, when you're, what am I, 53.6 miles into your outing, you don't appreciate those extra really long switchbacks. But like I said, one can be charitable and assume there was a good reason to add it. So, but that just means I will have less distance to do at the end. If I even come up short. I don't know if I will or not now. I'll just have to see. I am on my last little bitty climb. So I have to climb over this ridge. And I figured I would take a little more video since I'm hiking anyway. I think the outing today has gone pretty well. I feel tired, but my stomach has held up really well, which I'm happy about. Again, I was using the spring energy, and I think that's working pretty well for me, so I like that. But gonna go over this ridge and then get some views of the lake, then drop down to Watson Woods Riparian and finish up. And there's my view of the lake. And Rick says he's already down there at the parking lot for the Peavine, which is earlier than he needed to be there, but hopefully he's got a good book or something on his phone. But wrapping it up here at the end of the day. Yay, I'm done. And it actually worked out perfectly. I had 57.1 right when I crossed through the gate here, which is where I started. So that was perfect. Probably misestimated some of my detours, and the extra switchback that I showed on the film at the end probably helped out too. And of course, once again, we have the amazing Rick Rashid. Woo, woo, woo. Rick has been supporting me all day. A couple of aid stations and picking me up. And my son Kylan actually also helped out because he picked up my Jeep. See, no Jeep here now. So I'm going home. All right, I hope you guys have fun watching this. I am done. Have a great day.